Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about food and children and parents. There was a Facebook discussion going on between several mothers discussing how you can create the conditions wherein your child eats a wholesome diet or a healthy diet or a diet within which your child will assimilate all the nutrition it needs for its development and growth. And one of the first points which kind of opened up in that discussion is, and it was quite interesting because I agree with it, is what is considered healthy? Meaning, what is good for our bodies? What do our bodies need? Do we really know what a wholesome diet is, what that constitutes? I mean, where are we getting that information from? Because if you look at the timeline of all the foods which have been sanctified and vilified over time, one day this will cause bad cholesterol, the next day it cures cancer, 2 months later, no wait, it causes cancer. It's like there's so much information, so much conflicting information of what is good for our bodies and what is considered bad. And if you want to sift through all that information to come to a conclusion, it's going to take you forever. Because it's kind of like solving a mathematical equation outside of yourself to get an answer, while the answer we need to look for is actually within ourselves, within our own bodies, where our body is kind of our GP, it's our own personal physician that can tell us this is what you need to eat, this does not work so well for us. Maybe you could eat a little bit of that, but after you eat that, it's recommended to eat these other little things. It balances it out and it's easier to digest. Your body communicates with you in many different ways in terms of the things that are beneficial for our bodies and which we should rather forego, or perhaps not so much not eating it as changing the combination or when we eat it, how we eat it. There's so many different things to consider. And within having your body being your primary teacher of guiding you through what it is your body needs and what is beneficial for your body, I find that it's very important to not hold on to rigid rules, ideas or beliefs about what is healthy and what is not healthy, because every single person's body is unique and every single person's body will have unique requirements that will be different from one to another. Even if you're from the same family, like your children, their needs or what their bodies are sensitive to or really need can differ quite a lot from your own. And if I look at my own personal relationship with food, when I was a child, I was forced to eat so many foods. Like, it's the typical of like, if you don't finish your plate, you're just gonna have to sit by the table, everyone's gonna go, and we're just gonna wait for you to finish your plate, and only then you can leave the table. That was kind of the setup I grew up in. And as a little child, those kind of experiences of people telling me what to eat, also how much to eat, like I'd be full and then my parents would come and poke my belly and say, no, look, you've got more space, eat more. Or if I would eat too little, then they'd be concerned that I wouldn't be eating enough. And then if there's something that from which I take a lot, they're like, oh my god, you're gonna get fat, why are you eating so much? So it's like eating food, drinking food, there was no simplicity. Everything became complicated and so wrought up in judgments and beliefs and fears of like, oh my god, Layla's eating a cookie, what if she gets diabetes? oh my god, she's eating that meat, what if there's some kind of eggs or salmonella or whatever in it, it's like this whole big bang of information behind every piece of food, that we are so much in our heads about food that we forget to actually eat the food and assist the food with our own bodies because we're too much looking at it from our heads. And me growing up that way of being forced to eat, how much to eat, and there's just being like a whole food religion in essence. I started to physically be so repulsed by foods that I would start vomiting if I would eat those foods, because the taste, the textures, everything reminded me of those memories, and there's like this nasty emotional energy in that my body automatically just wants to expel the food. And then, like, if we would go out and visit family and we would eat things, I would be vomiting inside my mouth and then having to swallow it because I can't make a scene now in front of all these people. And this is kind of, I don't know if other people have had this is my experience, but it does kind of come to show the kind of consequence you can create where parents have the best intentions for their child. Like, if you eat all of these things, you'll be healthy, you will grow well. But first of all, they don't actually really know that information is accurate because they're just going on belief, what other people told them, the news, the media, which freaking changes every week. And there is no one teaches children, or there's probably people, but not many that I know of, to listen to their bodies, because the parents themselves haven't learned how to listen to their bodies and how to work out your own diet according to your particular needs. And it also shows how that point of like good intentions can pave the road to hell. For me, it took a very long time to work through all my food issues, to even push myself to a point of learning to eat new things, because my whole relationship with food was just so fucked up, literally, that it was like I had to work through like physical gagging, and just this, my body is just screaming no and trying out new food and seeing what works for me and what doesn't. It was like a whole process when I was like, how old was I? Around my 20s, when I came to South Africa away from my parents, and a whole new world opened up and I could just eat whatever I wanted. Having that freedom, I could suddenly start listening to myself and seeing, okay, what does my body actually like? Which one of these foods my body actually likes, but I'm expelling it because it's connected to memories of me having to eat that particular food while I wasn't hungry, for instance. It makes things very complicated to only when you're an adult start looking at how to create a healthy relationship with your body, and kind of be like communion with your body and agree on what you want to eat and what's good for you. And then, so yeah, this point was discussed in the Facebook discussion I was going through. And then also the point of, well, if I let my child eat what they want, they don't eat a very wide or a varied diet. Now, my parents, for instance, they would force me to eat lots of different things. And the moment I wasn't around and they weren't able to exert their control, I would eat whatever the fuck I wanted. Not only that, I would go and binge on all the bad foods, because it's like there's the control, and suddenly that's gone. You just like jump all the way to the other side of the polarity to kind of like get a release from that. So here, even if the logical mind will go, he or she is not eating a very wide diet, let me find a way to make my child have a varied diet. The thing is that it's not gonna stick. It becomes emotional. And even though you as a parent, you're happy and satisfied because right now my child is eating his carbs and he's eating his meats and he's eating, he's eating all the different things he needs to eat, in that moment, in the long run, is not going to stick. And what are you raising your children for? It's for the long run. Is that for when you're not there, you know that you can trust them to make, thorough decisions and really look at things and not just make decisions on a whim. And it's in that controlling our children, telling them what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, is that you actually start pushing that point of don't listen to your body, make food decisions based on how you feel. For instance, I'm fearful for my health. Now I'm going to eat this apparently piece of miracle fruit. You haven't actually checked in with your body whether you actually need that piece of fruit. My parents are gone. I can eat whatever I want. Now I'm going to eat things simply because I can, and not because that is what my body's asking for right now, but because I've created this whole point of fear of missing out on that particular food, like candy. I'm just gonna go for it. So then you start creating all these decisions based on how you mentally feel about yourself and the food, and you don't actually make a decision based on where your body is at. So what to do then in those moments? With my son, I let him eat what he wants, but I also make sure that there's a lot of options around, and I make sure I listen to my body. If there's sweets, he offers me his sweets, he shares with me, but I'll say, you know what? No, right now my body does not feel like it. And he'll look at me and go, okay, that's interesting. And the next day maybe I'm eating sweets and I'll ask him, do you want a sweet? And he'll go, not now, maybe later. And his little toddler saying no to candy, which many people are like, wow, how did you do that? It's about teaching them to listen to their bodies, and if they want to explore and binge on a particular food, let them do it. Let them get out of their system so they understand, if I eat too much of this, it creates this and that consequence in my body. I don't want to do that. For instance, with my son, I never offered him candy or sweets or sodas. I waited for him to ask for it because he saw other people drinking it or eating it, and I'll be sure, you want to try that, go for it. And one of the first times he had candy was at a party, and he stuffed himself. He's like, oh my god, what is this experience? It's so amazing. Then later when we drove home, he was like, my belly doesn't feel well, and he actually put his finger up his throat and vomited them all out, and he's like, now I feel better. In that moment, learning experience, he now knows that eating all that candy, although it feels good in that moment because it was something new, my body doesn't like it. Now I can work with that. And I know it can feel very counterintuitive to be very relaxed and chill about food, because we don't believe our children can make proper decisions, that they will listen to their bodies. But it's actually because we don't trust ourselves to make such decisions. Because when we were raised, our parents did not have faith in us, and then we learned to not have faith in ourselves, and so we don't have faith in our children to make such decisions. But I've seen with my son, he can do it, and sometimes he'll eat strange things and I just go with it, and he'll have different phases and he goes with it. But he's a healthy 4-year-old. He's maybe been sick 2 or 3 times the entire life. He's fine. It's good. Somehow it all works out. And then what was the other point? Oh, another point that came up in the discussion was sweetening, say, the veggies, or making a veggie juice, putting some honey in there to make it sweet so that the child will drink it. Why I wouldn't go for those things is because you want your child to learn to make decisions based on what their body wants, not on what you think their body needs. And if you are going to sweeten things, you are in a way training your children to go by taste and to not go by content. So while it kind of seems quite innocent to just put some honey, put some sugar in there so at least he gets those damn veggies in, you're kind of asking your child to compromise his integrity, to go for something that tastes good, that doesn't necessarily sit well in his body. Like if you want to look at it another way, where we tend to sweeten or spice things up is when we communicate with our children, when we ask them to do something. Say, you've been playing with your child for a long time, now you need to go somewhere, and you want to get to this next thing ASAP, no fuss. So you start pleading with your child and being all sweet, and if you come with, you can get some, I'm going to give you your favorite toy, maybe you can buy some chocolates, Instead of explaining to our children, look, I need to get these things done, I only have so much time left, you've been able to enjoy yourself for quite some time, these things need to be done, let's go do them. If they have questions or they say no, explain, clarify until they understand the decision, and then go do what you need to do, which can sometimes take time. We'll tend to sweeten up our talk or spice it very hot and get very angry to get them to do things. And here again, them doing things, their behavior is not because they understand what we are saying. Same with the veggie juice that you're going to sweeten up. They're not drinking it because they understand what's inside and how that will support them. They're just drinking it because of how it tastes, how it makes them feel inside their mouths. Same way, if we sweeten up our talk or spice it up real hot, they will do what we ask them to do, but not because they understand what we are saying or the consideration within our request. They'll do it because of how it feels. Either makes them feel good, or maybe it makes them feel bad, and they want to avoid the feeling bad, they want to feel good. So here again is another way, actually, how we use food in our communication in terms of taste and how things feel, to make our children do things that in that moment, you're happy to have it done and things seem to be going okay. But in the long run, you're teaching your child to make decisions based on how things feel. And say, if they need to pick a job, or maybe you'll go into a relationship, how are they going to look at things? They're going to look at, how does this make me feel? They're not going to actually think it through, or how it actually feels inside them. They're not going to actually relate their decision back to physical, practical reality, but only on whether it makes them feel good or bad, which in the long run can have a lot of consequence. So here a little bit of a long rant on food and children, and some other points that happened to open up. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.